Welcome, Sagittarius, your in-depth monthly forecast for March 2026. Going to share the big themes of the month to begin with. Then the event will on screen. I'll unpack that for you at the very start of the month on the 1st. That is going to provide an influential backdrop for the whole month. With Mars and Uranus in a square as we come into the month, there can be tension. However, the opportunity to work on the more emotional and home-based dimension of your situation is strengthened from the time of the lunar eclipse on the 3rd. We also have the start of the astrological year on the 20th, a day when Mercury goes direct. But in the last week of this month, Sun will meet with Saturn and with Neptune, in Saturn's case in Aries, for the first time in 29 and a half years. In the case of Neptune, it's the first time they meet in Aries for over 150 years. So a very historic month from a celestial viewpoint. So on the screen, first of all, we need to look at your ruler, Jupiter. And Jupiter does start the month continuing in the 8th house. He is going to move into the 9th house at the end of June, and that will be hugely exciting for you. I can guarantee the second half of this year, Sagittarius, is going to see you much more expansive, traveling, being adventurous, and really getting into the flow in the way that you're much more known for. In recent years, particularly with Saturn the last 2 years and Neptune 4 times since 2012, apart from the 6 months last year, it has been much more of a focus on the emotional dimension of your situation. So that more trailblazing side of your nature has somewhat been inhibited. But despite the fact that Jupiter starts this month in retrograde, you can see the Sun in the other water sign of Pisces is going to move forwards and meet up but with Jupiter in a trine. And that's going to happen by about the 5th. And that can be particularly lucky because we have a mutual reception. Jupiter is, of course, the ruler traditionally of Pisces, as well as being the sole ruler of your zodiac sign. But that 4th house energy of the Sun is going to be joined by Mars on the 2nd, linking up with the North Node, the retreated Mercury, and the glamorous Venus. What's the significance of that? Well, if we come down to here, Mars is in a right angle with Uranus at the start of this month. And if things aren't moving forwards at the pace you would like, chances are you could feel quite tense. In fact, in general, over the last 7 years, apart from the 4 months of last year when Uranus moved into your sector of relating, I feel Uranus has made it difficult to find rhythm. If you are someone who's pretty good at creating structures, well, that's excellent. But I think for many archers, life has seemed unpredictable and maybe even a little chaotic at times. And because Mars can be quite an impatient influence, if you feel you've got something to say and nobody seems to be listening, or you've got a brilliant idea that people seem unreceptive to, you could find yourself simmering with resentment right through the month of March. But Pluto is also in an opposition with the moon. That's a very powerful aspect as well. The moon for you is in a part of your chart to do with the reflection of that side of your nature which likes knowledge, but maybe can be frustrated if you feel people aren't being honest. So there is the potential there to be a bit exasperated. But with Mars moving on the 2nd into that collective in Pisces, so we have the big stellium that started the year in Capricorn, moved into Aquarius, now shaping up in Pisces. It's an opportunity to use the industry of Mars to make some physical changes to your home, whether it's decorative, whether it's improving it in some kind of structural way, whether it is working from home. But it might not all go to plan with Mercury in a retrograde. So just factor into that potential for frustration as well. But on the 3rd, we do have the total lunar eclipse, the only total lunar eclipse of the year. And for you, it occurs in the 10th house. Now, when we have the moon in the 10th house, it gets very difficult to disguise our feelings. But with the gathering in the 4th house, that is very much about emotion. So if something feels out of kilter between your worldly connection, say, for example, you work with people that you don't like the atmosphere, or the location doesn't quite work for you, or in terms of the physical site of your work is awkward to get to, that may be something that's using up a lot of time, which takes you away from family members. That could be a consideration over the next 6 months that you may want to grapple with. But on the 6th, Venus moves for you into the 5th house, which can be very glamorous, playful, and give you a burst of extra confidence. Detrimented in Aries as it is, I still feel it can work well for you, but it needs to get past Saturn and Neptune first, because on the 8th and 9th, they act as somewhat of a celestial roadblock. You may find that even if there is someone you're drawn to and you really like them, that it just doesn't seem to catch fire. Once Venus does go beyond them, I feel that you can relax a little bit more. But whoever you connect to with Venus as hell, it has to feel right. And that has really been the lesson of Saturn over the last couple of years in the sign of Pisces, to become much more in touch with what you want as far as feeling comfortable, secure, and at ease. But with Saturn and Neptune in your 5th house, the 5th house can be playful, can be creative, and it can be expressive. And of course, Saturn can be cautious, resistant. Neptune can be eroding. But the combination of these together suggests if you do have some talents that you want to work with and you're prepared to put the effort in, there's every chance that you can actually turn those to your advantage, but it will take industry, application, and perspiration. Now, the Sun forges that great link with Jupiter by the 5th. If you are talking about a property matter, a financial matter that's linked to the family, good news can come your way. By the 15th, however, the advancing Mars meets up with the retreating Mercury in your 4th house. If someone says something about the middle of this month that you don't really like, you may find it very difficult to hold your tongue. Mars can be quite a reactive influence in the 4th house. Mercury retrograde can see us be a bit subjective, particularly at home in Pisces, where it's detrimented, about our feelings. So don't be too quick to make a comment if something is proven to be a bit frustrating for you. But what we do have is by the 19th, a fabulous new moon in Pisces. It's the 7th successive new moon, incredible, at 28 degrees. And it's forging a lightning arc to the planet of innovation, Uranus. So if you do have good ideas, perhaps it is to create more space at home, to declutter, do some kind of spring clean if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or it may be if you work for yourself, you'll come up with some very smart ideas. Your ability to think up something that's brilliant, but also works for you in terms of how it feels, is really going to be heightened at that time and in the following month. With Mercury going direct on the 20th, some of the things that have perhaps felt a bit blocked or frustrating can melt away. It won't go or come out of its post retrograde shadow until the 9th of April. So just be aware there could be a bit of a lag. But on the 20th, we begin the new astrological year, Cardinal Quadrant 1, the vernal equinox, and the sun returns to Aries, which is brilliant for you. And it gives you a chance over the following month in particular, but even longer over the following 13 weeks to be much more in touch with what would give you a sense of joy, where you can be more self expressive. And if you're looking for extra fun and social connection, very valuable too. What's not to like? Well, it's just for the first time in 150 years, the Sun meets Neptune. The first time for 29 and a half years, the Sun meets Saturn. So when it comes to a romantic situation or a creative idea, they're both going to test the validity of that attraction or that plan. It doesn't mean to say it won't work out, but it does need to have good roots and foundations to survive. Obviously, Saturn can be very testing. It's like a cold hammer. But the sun, of course, is at the center of our universe. Saturn needs the sun for sure. And the sun in the fifth house is exalted. And it's a great opportunity for you once the sun gets beyond them towards the end of the month to really open up the clutch, if you like. Also, Jupiter does forge a very strong link with Mars towards the end of this month. So that emotional dimension, even though that fiery energy of Aries does come in later on, is still going to be a big part. It's like a cosmic metaphor of what you're trying to achieve. And the lesson of Saturn over the last couple of years, and Neptune more historically, has been if you're in touch with how you feel, you've got that clear, you know who you are and what you stand for and what you will or won't accept. When it comes to the more playful, interactive, and social parts of life, it means your choices are going to be that much better. If you'd like to understand what Saturn will hold for you over the next 2 years, please watch your deep dive video by clicking on the link on screen or visit my new website at patrickarundell.com. It's absolutely packed with lots of different information. And unlike a lot of astrology sites, which are very generic, it's all written and produced very much from the heart. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please check out my testimonials below. You can also order your personal forecast either in natal or draconic format. If you order the natal package, there's 50% off. Please apply Astro 26 at the checkout. If you want draconic, your soul karmic package, there's 50% off. Please apply Draco 26 at the checkout. Both provide Syrian insights, great value, very accurate, and totally unique to you.